Alright guys, so now we're going to be adding and subtracting radicals. So in order for us to add and subtract radicals, the radicals have to be exactly the same. And so if you can see here, 112 and the square root of 7 are not the same numbers. So we need to make them the same numbers, okay? So then we're going to go ahead and see if we can simplify 112. And so to simplify 112, we do need to use a perfect square, which is 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 36, what else is next? 49, after 49, it is, that's 7, 8, sorry, 64, and then after 64, that's 8 squared, 9 squared is 81, and 100, that's where I'm going to stop. So I'm going to see which one of these would divide into 112. So 112 divided by 64, that doesn't work. 112 divided by 49, nope. 112 divided by 36, nope. 112 divided by 16, yes, so 16 times 7. Okay, so this would be negative 7, the square root of 16 times 7 plus the square root of 7. Okay, now we can take the square root of 16 and get a whole number. That gives us 4. So we get negative 7 times 4 and the square root of 7 plus the square root of 7. Okay, I'm going to simplify this real quick. Negative 7 times 4 gives us negative 28 and the square root of 7. Sorry, sometimes my pen just does not want to work with me. Square root of 7 plus the square root of 7. All right, so here now we're going to add these together. So I have negative 28 of these things, and I have one of these things. So I'm going to take negative 28 and add 1, and that gives me negative 27 and the square root of 7. So just like you have x's and you add x's and they have to be like terms in order for you to add them together, this has the same concept, okay? Okay, here's the next one. So we have 160. I know 16, yeah, 16 times 10 gives me 160. 16 times 10, okay, minus 9 times the square root of 40 is 4 times 10. Okay, so then the square root of 16 here gives me 4. The 10 is going to stay trapped in here, minus, and then we know that the square root of 4 gives me 2, and the 10 stays trapped. Okay, so I'm going to simplify this a little bit before I subtract them. We have 4 and the square root of 10 minus 9 times 2 is 18 and the square root of 10. Okay, so this is kind of like saying you have 4 x's and you're taking away 18 x's. Okay, that's pretty much what it's saying. So if you have 4 of these and you take away 18, we have negative 14 and the square root of 10. That's it. Okay, the next one, 125. That's the same thing as 25 times 5 minus the square root of 45 is the same thing as 9 times 5. And so we can take the square root of 25, that gives me 5, and this 5 stays trapped in there. Minus the square root of 9 is 3, and this 5 stays trapped in there. Okay, so 8 times 5, that gives me negative 40, and the square root of 5 minus 3 and the square root of 5. Okay, so then we just look at the coefficients and we combine them. Negative 40 minus 3 gives us negative 43 and the square root of 5. Okay. This next one, okay, so this time we do have 63 and then we do have x's as well. So here I have 10. We know that 63 is the same thing as 9 times 7. X to the fourth is the same thing as x squared times x squared minus x squared and the square root of 7. So that we can't simplify, we're going to have to leave it. Now the square root of 9 gives us 3. The 7 is going to stay trapped in here, and then we have 2 x's that we take the square root of, and so all we're left with is 7 in there. Okay, so 10 times 3 gives me 30. So x squared and the square root of 7 minus x squared and the square root of 7. Okay. So now we can go ahead and combine them. Now with this part, these need to be exactly the same, the x squared and the square root of 7, x squared and the square root of 7. So we look at the coefficients, we have 30 and we're taking away, there's no number there, but remember it's an invisible one. So we have 30 and we take away 1, that gives us 29, x squared and the square root of 7. Okay, this next one, we're going to break them down again. So we have negative square root 150 would be 25 times 6. Okay, and then x to the 5th is x squared times x squared times x. This is plus x. The 6 we can't break down, but the x cubed we have x squared and x. Okay. So we can take the square root of 25 and get a whole number. That gives me negative 5. The 6 is going to stay trapped in here. I take the square root of an x squared. I take a square root of an x squared. And then this x is going to stay trapped. So we have 6x. Plus here, I can only take the square root of this one. So we have x times x. And the square root of, we're left with 6x in there. Okay, I'm going to reduce this. So negative 5x squared and the square root of 6x plus x squared and the square root of 6x. Okay, so if we look at our like terms, this is exactly the same on both of them. So we add the coefficient. So negative 5 plus, remember if there's no number there, it is a 1. So negative 5 plus 1 gives me negative 4 x squared and the square root of 6x. And the last example. So here we have negative x outside. 160 is the same thing as 16 times 10. And then the x squared we don't have to break down. Minus x squared and the square root of 10. That one we can't break down either. It just stays so. So here we can take the square root of 16. That gives us 4. So it'll be negative 4x. And then we can take the square root of x squared. That gives us another x here. So that means the only thing that stays trapped in the square root is a 10. Here, we don't touch it. There's nothing we can do. I'm going to reduce this real quick. Negative 4x squared and the square root of 10 minus x squared and the square root of 10. So if you notice, our like terms here are x squared and the square root of 10, x squared and the square root of 10. And then we just go ahead and look at the coefficient. So negative 4 minus, there's no number in the front. So remember, when there's no number in the front, it's a negative 1. So negative 5x squared and the square root of 10. And that's it. Thank you guys. Bye.